Hi everyone and welcome. Today I'm going to show you how to make skins that can work for that stained glass look, or they're also great for window clings, anything where you're going to need the light to shine through. Now you're probably used to these kinds of skins. You may have seen me make them. This is a regular kind of skin. You might use it to make jewelry or to include in collages or to accent your pour painting. And you can use these to make mosaics, but as you can see, they're pretty much completely opaque, and that is not what you want. You want something that is more transparent. As you can see here, this kind of skin, which I have a video on how to make this kind of skin is a bloom skin, and as you can see, it's made with house paint. Again, it's opaque and very thick, and this is not a sticky skin. If you want skins that are not sticky, these are definitely the kind that you want. But for this one, we need both a stickier and a more transparent skin, so that is why we are going to show you how to make this kind of skin. Now, this kind of skin, as you can see, it looks a lot like stained glass. It is also semi-transparent. I think you can see that. You can see my hand through it. Hopefully with the light, you will be able to see it. Sometimes it's harder to see through the black gloves. Maybe you can see it from here. This has striations of a particular type of stained glass. So this is one type that you can make. It's very much more traditional in the stained glass that would be in a window. It's that little bit milky glass, but it still allows the light through. Now, there's another kind of skin that you can make out of the exact same stuff. It's just you're not going to layer it like this. This has whites and blues and purples, but essentially it looks purple. We are going to use this in our mosaic today, but you also can make a skin that is very transparent, and hopefully you can see this. So these kind are very transparent, so it kind of depends what the look you're going for is. So how do you make these? Well, regular paints are probably not the best way to go with this. Now, some of your paints, like your Color Shift paint from Folk Art, or some of your pearlized paints like this one from Master's Touch, are semi-translucent or semi-opaque, either direction you want to go. They can be used for this application. So if you just have these, you usually can get away with it. You'll just have to use a lot of medium. The best thing that I found is something like this, which is Color Art's Primary Elements pigments. They also have Bling It. They have a whole line. Now, Color Art makes these pigments, but they need to go into something. And for most people who pour paint and they do a bloom, they're familiar with this substance. Substance is bare interior exterior high gloss enamel. Now, this one is available at Home Depot. Lowe's also has a version of this that is deep base. This is deep base 8300. This is an untinted house paint for dark colors. That's what this is. And this works very, very well for this application because there's no color in it and you're only adding something like this pigment and it stays fairly transparent. Even though, like I said, you can use other paints, just the more opaque paints, they don't work as well as the semi-transparent ones do. It just depends the look you're going for. But if you want clear ones, that is one alternative. If you are a pour painter, you might have that on hand. If you do not, there are other alternatives. You'll probably ask me, can you use Floetrol? That is not my favorite for this medium. You can. Your skins are going to be very, very, very thin and often brittle. So I really wouldn't use them with a pigment. If you're going to be doing it with a pigment, they can be used with a paint with just a little bit of color, but you're going to not get a lot of deep colors out of that. Another thing you can use is a gloss fluid medium. This one is from Liquitex Basics. It works pretty well, so if you can't get a hold of a deep base, then you can use this, and I will put a link down below. And it works pretty well. Your gel mediums generally will work too, but the thinnest that I've been able to get them is through the deep base. So if you want a super thin skin that's super transparent, use your pigments and your deep base. And I'm going to show you how to do that. Now, I will say that all of these are my bloom paints. This is a mixture of the Jo Sonja varnish and the Behr 8300, just like you would do bloom paint. It does help for this to be somewhat thinner. You can also thin this out with your gloss fluid medium if you feel like it needs to be thinned out. The other thing you can do is to thin it out with water. In this application, it does not matter if you thin it out with water. It actually works pretty well. So if you just want to take some of your bloom paint and thin it with water to do this, you can, and you'll get a very thin, nice, clean surface for this application. So if you have premixed bloom paints, you're ready to go. If not, you will need to either use your gloss fluid medium, or you'll need to mix this with Behr 8300 or a similar deep base, Joe Sonia varnish to thin it down, and or water, and you will need your pigments, whatever colors you choose. This particular one is jasmine. So we just take our yellow, if we're just going to make a thin skin, put some down. Yes, it really is that easy. If you already have it pre-mixed, put some down, and you're just going to smear it. It's just that simple if you already have the bloom paints. If you do not have your bloom paints, that's perfectly okay too. Take your gel medium. You can actually just pour some out. I'm going to leave this space over here to show you how to do one that has all the striations in it. And then just take your paint. Now, if you are working with the pigments, please make sure that you have a mask or a respirator on so that you don't inhale these little tiny particles. You can just take your paint if you're using paint. Oops, went a little bit overboard with that one, but that's okay. And you're just going to, you can even mix it on your mat, or you can mix it in a cup and pour it out. And you can see that this one is a lot more opaque because this is using a paint. And you can do this. This is very simple. The thinner you get it, the thinner your skin will be, and the more transparent it will be. Now, why I like to use the deep base is that you don't get as many holes. You're seeing some holes. When you're trying to get it thin, you don't get all of those holes. And you're seeing the problem in just using something like the gloss medium. Now, gel medium may work a little bit better, but the gloss medium, as you can see, it's going to separate on you. So you'll have to make a much thicker skin, and then you will not have that really nice transparent look. But just to make a skin with the bloom paint, you can see how much thicker it is. It's more viscous. And then you can just add your other paints down. This is actually a paint here as well. This is the exact same thing as this, except for this is suspended in the bloom medium. And you can see it's slightly viscous as well. And then I think I'm going to add some of this. This is a great color. This one's by Color Art. It's very pretty. It's Snapdragon. And I think I'm going to add some of this as well. I believe this is some Reflex Violet. It's starting to get a little gloppy. It's not very thin, but that's okay. This is a great way to use excess paint that you've got hanging around. And I'm not going to add the white until the end. So to do this, you're just going to mix them together like this. Going to go ahead and layer on top so I can get some more variation. And this one's going to be very purple. I'm going to have to add a little bit more. I usually like to add it in a little bit at a time. I was trying to save some time here. So you can see how this stayed together a lot better than this did over here. And then I'm just going to add a little bit of my pearl. That's going to add some more striations, and I'm also going to add something that is fairly opaque. This is actually just Liquitex Basics Fluid. This one is in light blue violet, but it is mixed with my bloom paint, so it's going to be the same consistency. And we're just going to go over it. And there you can see the striations. This one's going to be a pretty darker purple color. Very pretty. And you can continue to add whatever you want into it. If you want more variation, then you just go back in, add a few stripes of a color, and there you go. You can have more of whatever color that you want. It looks like I got a little bit of gunk in there. Okay. And that's all there is to it. Just let this dry. This only takes a few minutes to dry, especially if you are using the deep base. It just dries really quickly with the Jo Sonja varnish. And you can see why I do not like to use the gel medium. The color is absolutely gorgeous, but it tends to separate. These two, this one's been sitting there the whole time. This one is made with the Jo Sonja varnish and the deep base 8300, and it did not separate at all, and this one will not either. It will just be perfect. So that's why I like to use the bloom paints for this specifically. If you're interested in bloom painting, you can check out my videos on bloom painting as well as pour painting and other skins videos. So that's my little shameless plug. Now, while this is drying, I'm going to show you the next steps for your stained glass design. To use our stained glass acrylic skins, we are going to need something to put it on. In this case, I am going to be using a glass plate. You could use glass or plastic, and any kind of glass or plastic. This is going to be a plate from the dollar store. So we are going to use a plate. Now I have just sketched out my design. You can get a design straight from the internet if you want to, or you can sketch it out like this one. In this case, it's an iris. I'm going to make sure that my design fits the area I want it to fit. There we go. This should work out just fine. Okay, I have darkened the design so that you can see it a little bit better. It'll be easier to see through the skin. Now here's the skin that we have made. The transparent skin makes it very easy to trace the design onto the skin. Now I am using a white acrylic marker so you can see it, and it can be removed as long as it doesn't completely dry. But using a removable marker like a dry erase marker or a transparency marker would probably be advised, since you do want to be able to remove the mark so that you can't see it when you get it onto your glass. While I will trace out many of my petals on this purple skin, I also have other skins that I will use. I have different colors of purple skins, and I have multicolored skins, including green skins for the leaves. So every petal has to be traced out in a different color. Once I have traced out all of my pieces, I can cut them out with my scissors and get them assembled and ready to go onto my plate. Once you have your pieces cut out and assembled, you can begin the process of adhering your stained glass acrylic skin design onto your surface. You may want to thoroughly clean your surface with alcohol first before transferring and adhering your skins to remove any fingerprints and oils. To transfer my design, I am just attaching a copy of my inverted iris design under the front side of the glass to follow as a template. It just makes it easier for me to place my skins in the right place. Now there are several choices that you have to attach something like this into glass. You can use diamond glaze, water-based dimensional adhesive that I use quite a lot, or you could use something like Mod Podge. In this case, I am going to be using Mod Podge at least to go over my skins because this one is a dishwasher safe Mod Podge. Now I do not plan to use this plate, but at least this will allow me to wipe my plate off without worrying about damaging my skin. I would advise following the directions on the Mod Podge for mixing and application. The directions recommend rolling the jar to mix it and a soft brush for application. There's also a long cure time for the dishwasher safe version. It took me a while to adhere all of the pieces, but the results are well worth it. In the end, I got a nice result. If you've never tried making translucent skins for a stained glass project, give it a try. If you like this video, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. Thanks for watching. Bye now.